Welcome to our 90th show of the Roll for Crit podcast, the official podcast for rollforcrit.com. I'm Will Keeler.
I'm Jonathan Estes. 90. That's a big milestone.
It is.
10 to go. And then we stop forever.
Yes. Actually, we're going to stop at 9. So people are like, what about 100? What about that nice even number?
That would drive me crazy. The best thing about this, when we get to 100, is that, we always have 3 digits in the header. It's always 0, 8, 9, or whatever. Mm-hmm. Now all 3 will be meaningful.
Oh, you think 0 is not a meaningful number?
All right. Well, I don't want to. Sorry, I apologize to any zeros out there.
But before we get to our news, I believe you have a little tidbit for us.
Oh, I got a little board game factoid. You heard about this one before.
I have. Yes.
Well, this is true. Everyone, of course, is familiar with the game Ticket to Ride. Well, not a lot of people know this. Ticket to Ride was originally based on a different Beatles song, Paperback Writer. Mm-hmm. It was very different. Instead of collecting trains, you were collecting novels and words, and you had to put them together to write your own paperback story.
We can see why they changed it.
Yeah, it didn't really make a lot of sense. Why are these books going across the country? It just had a better ring to it with Ticket to Ride. Mm-hmm. But I would love to see them do a whole line of these. An I Am the Walrus game, other Beatles songs that exist. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I'm sure that they're out there. Anyway, look that up. It's true. First news story of the day. Mm-hmm. This is a lot of fun. Last week, Steve Jackson Games had kind of a press conference, if you will, mm-hmm. a little event, sort of a post-Gamma thing, and there were some fun, interesting Munchkin announcements that are it's a little weird.
Who thought they'd be talking about Munchkin?
I know. well. Can you guess what they might have said?
Well, we already know of Marvel Munchkin.
Well, I'm more general than that.
Oh.
New versions of Munchkin.
Oh, okay.
They actually went ahead and announced a total of 10 new Munchkins that are going to be released over the next few years.
Okay.
So this is very big.
All right.
A few to start off with.
It's about time we got some new Munchkins.
A few to start off with. We got Noir Munchkin.
Okay.
Victorian era Munchkin. None of these are finalized names.
Okay. Well, as long as you get the general theme.
Monty Python Munchkin.
Well, that's not a big surprise.
Star Wars Munchkin.
So wait, they have Star Munchkin, which is parodying all that. Then they're gonna have a literal Star Wars.
Well, I think the whole, they had the Marvel one, so maybe there's
the heroes
Disney property or something.
I wonder if, because it never occurred to me, and we haven't tried I don't know if it's out yet, the Marvel Munchkin. Mm-hmm. If it mixes with the heroes, they use the same keywords. You can actually use, there's...
That would be kind of cool. They should do that. We'll find out. Adventure Munchkin, which I think is kind of like an Indiana Jones kind of theme, archaeological adventures. And then, this is where it gets really weird.
Weird Munchkin.
Some Munchkins that are actually based on, they had the Munchkin version of Castle Panic.
Yeah.
We're getting some Munchkins mixed with existing board game properties.
So more like that, you mean?
But the game is Munchkin. We had Munchkin Gold.
So it's the reverse in essence.
Correct.
Instead of Munchkin being skinned onto their game, it's their game being skinned onto Munchkin.
Correct. And these are the ones that we know about.
Can I make a guess?
Yeah, make guesses.
All right.
You won't guess them because they're weird.
Catan?
That's one of them.
Pandemic?
Nope.
Okay. Let's see. Robinson Crusoe.
That's a good guess. In fact, we have a couple Fantasy Flight crossovers, Android Netrunner, Arkham Horror, in addition to Cthulhu Munchkin, which exists, Twilight Struggle, and finally, Munchkin Legacy.
Does it play like a legacy game, or is it? Okay. I think those are the ones we should focus on, really, because the other ones they're making the skin.
Oh, sorry, there was one other one.
Catan?
Nope.
Oh, I thought you said that was one.
Not board game related.
Oh.
April Fool's Edition. None of that was real. They didn't have any press conference. April Fool's.
It's not April Fool's, so it's not you. It's just you being a jerk now.
I got.
I'm sorry. It's just you being a jerk.
I'm only a couple days late.
I'm sorry. That's still enough. I'm sorry. There's not even any day that's still April 1st anymore.
No Munchkins.
So you just want to be a jerk then?
You don't think those are good ideas, though?
Well, the other ones I think might have been.
Sorry, everybody, for wasting all of our time. But that was fun for me, really. It was just fun for me. I was going to just walk off the set right now.
Probably, yeah.
I was trying real hard to keep it together. But we had some other April Fool's fun last week. We posted our Animal Crossing video. I hope everybody got to see that because that was pretty good. We had no fun playing it. We had less fun than anything I could imagine in recent history. And some other sites had some good April Fools. We saw Board Game Brawl did the top 10 shirts. You saw that one?
I believe I did.
It was pretty good. And what was the other one? Bauer's Game Corner did a food corner review of the Taco Bell Quesalupa, which I'm a big fan of.
Yes, I know. You use it to try to make yourself feel better after Batman v Superman.
It's my comfort food. It's my.
Weird thing is, even you said there isn't really any cheese there.
No, they really aren't that good. No, they're pretty good, but you know what I heard is that they're handmade. Mm-hmm. At
so
each
place.
One's
unique.
So because they don't have a process for it, because it's hard to put cheese in a shell. If the people just do a bad job, then there could be less cheese.
So maybe your Taco Bell is just bad.
That's what I think. I'm gonna have to go across this country looking for more.
You gotta find where the
Bells.
cheesiest Taco Bell is.
Now, we did have some real news for today that we're gonna talk about.
I'm not gonna talk because I'm not gonna trust you.
I swear, don't take anything else I say with any grains of salt.
There's a reason why I disappeared on April 1st.
It's all real now from this moment onward. You can fact check it. First up, Tabletopia has launched on Steam in early access. This has been out in the browser version for a while now. Now it's officially on Steam. It's $9.99. It's a digital thing that lets you play a bunch of different board games. A lot of different publishers have officially signed on. There's already Tabletop Simulator on Steam. It's been there for a while. And this is supposed to release in its final version in the summertime. And we've kind of messed around a little bit with the browser version, and it's kind of neat, especially we like that a lot of Kickstarter people have been putting their things onto it, which is a really convenient way to try out those games. And I guess I'm just kind of curious. I haven't tried the Steam version yet. I'm sure they're similar. It does have cross-play, so you can play either way together with people. But we will look into it. I'm curious what people watching, if they have any experience between that versus Tabletop Simulator, what the big differences are. I'm not sure what kind of support Tabletop Simulator has, because Tabletopia has a lot of good, Portal Games is in there, Mirrorbox, a bunch of other people.
Robert Burks?
Yeah, Robert Burke. I don't think any of Asmodee's stuff is up there as of now. I don't think
Take the Ride,
any
I thought
Fantasy
was
Flight.
one.
Is it?
I thought it was, or maybe
You
I'm
may be
mixing it up,
right. I don't remember. Certainly not Fantasy Flight, though.
Well, no, because they actually want you to buy the physical.
Right. I guess, yeah, because their whole, it's all about collecting. It is kind of a weird thing, right? How do they justify if you're a publisher, how do you justify putting your game digitally if you want people to buy your physical copy? Or do you think it's different enough that
I think
the two
it's
won't compete with each other?
I mean, talking to a lot of people who play board games, for a lot of them, that's a lot of times when they talk about games, they talk about the physical, they like the tactile touch of things, and how sometimes Neil will go oh, this cardstock's amazing. So I think they know that they don't think it's going to be significant, or currently as of now, it's not.
Right.
I don't know if it goes the way of Steam sales, then they'll feel the same way.
Huh. That's interesting.
If your game sells for $5.99, and then you're why should I pay $30 so I can get it for $5.99?
I guess if you look at it from a monetary perspective, it doesn't cost anything to produce a digital version other than the original cost.
In terms of resources,
right.
yes.
Once, to produce 20 copies is the same as to produce one copy. So if you're spending a lot less money, and even though it's a cheaper cost, it probably still works out in your favor.
Yeah.
And some people might say, oh, I really like this. I'll buy the physical one now to go with it for when I go to somebody's house or whatever.
And I mean, it's worked for Magic the Gathering. I know they have both the physical and the digital marketplace.
Right, yeah. And yeah, that's apparently not going away. And I also wonder if there will be more of these, because it's almost surprising there are even two that are competing with each other. That are there's a big enough market for that. So I don't know if one of them will go away or if they'll branch out, merge, or like try to differentiate themselves in different ways. Maybe one has this it's like Netflix versus Hulu. Like you get these games on this one, these games on this one. Let us know. I'm curious what people have played and tried, if they like one over the other or not. But that is in early access right now, up there on the old Steam if you have one of those. PC and Android and iOS versions are coming also. So soon we'll be able to game on the go, which should be their slogan. And continuing along the line of digital type board games, but this one I think is really, 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 really cool. So
That also aren't true because they both.
no, this is true. This is true. It was just a one and done deal. You can trust everything else I say.
Never trust anything says no matter what day it is.
Now, you've seen Star Wars.
No.
You remember Hollow Chess.
Yes.
The guy who designed the original Hollow Chess sequence in the original Star Wars movie, and they also brought him back for Force Awakens. Spoilers. Spielers. I don't know why I just said it like that. They had a cameo of that.
Yes.
He actually is really cool. I don't know. They had a video a while back where he actually modeled those characters. It's all stop motion, and they brought that original guy back. His name is Phil Tippett. He is actually designing a game of his own that is taking that Hollow Chess idea and trying to make an actual game around it. So it's supposedly VR and AR. So I think this is really interesting because we've talked about VR, but not as much about AR, which is augmented reality, meaning like Microsoft has the HoloLens where you would look at a table and actually see something, or if you've had a 3DS, the little cards that came with it, the thing pops up. And this is going to be like, they call it a CCG, digital game, but all the monsters and the creatures are actual models from clay that he designed for the game. And to me, that's if the game is good, that's the coolest thing about it.
Is it going to play like Magic okay, this is better. If he's going to play like Yu-Gi-Oh! When the monsters just sort of stand there or is this going to play more like move them around?
There is a field, and it is tactical. You can move them next to each other, like Summoner Wars or something like that.
Okay.
And I believe, but probably, but still along the same lines as Hearthstone Magic type gameplay, but with that movement involved. But I mean, what do you think about like that? The possibilities of AR for games.
Well, I mean, I can't think of anyone who wouldn't love the possibility, who's ever played Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh! And stuff, to have like the Yu-Gi-Oh! Dual Disc and just be like, see your monster pop out on the field or something.
Right. I know when I was a kid, I read this book called The Seventh Tower. I've probably talked about it before with you, not on the show. And I know you didn't read it. And I was like, come on, nobody else read this book? I think it was actually like, George Lucas, read it and told him that he could put his name on it. I didn't write it though at all, but they had a kind of similar card game like that. I feel like every good fantasy universe has some crazy card game where you can see the monsters come to life and stuff.
Because it's sort of like the next step we've always wanted to do. I mean, being able to see not just the 2D artwork, ability to literally see it pop up and interact. Like, I know. One of the Magic cards I saw a joke about. I showed you from the newest Magic set is like called like Burning Within, when you see someone like catching on fire. Imagine you could see the card, like the card you target, just see light on fire from the inside out or something. Like,
yes. No, that would be, or even cooler. What stuff like if there was something hidden, like if there was a trap card or whatever, but only your goggles could see it. That would be really neat, an easy way to keep track of things. And then, I don't know, like if you could apply it even to traditional board games, like if in Battlestar, if like you could see like ships flying around instead of a token. Well, you'd still have to have a token though, that's the thing. Well, I guess you wouldn't necessarily if everybody's wearing them.
Yeah, it depended on how you designed it. If it's AR, the problem is we need to think AR versus VR.
Right. Yeah, which is...
And of course, we should mention that we are still both very excited about VR coming out, so that probably doesn't help this.
Right, we want it all.
But the biggest selling point then, if this is going to go through, it has to be the character design. Those models got to be really cool looking.
Yeah, well, from what we've seen, and we showed a little bit of the video, they look pretty cool. If you've seen the holo chests, they look like that.
But I mean, he's got to have enough unique ones, like maybe not just a couple. He needs a.
No, that's
which
true.
of course is really difficult.
Yeah.
But the one thing that's nice for him compared to, I'd say, let's think of Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh, which have been around for a while. Think how many different cards, in essence, models they would have to do if they wanted to do something like this.
Oh, yeah.
He started from scratch,
Right.
so he's not going to have people like, oh, don't add this guy back in.
Yeah,
You know.
that would be nice. Why isn't Beaver Warrior there? I would be the only one.
Love Beaver Warrior.
But I would like to see more like special effects designers like that get into designing things for games. Not even if they don't design the game themselves, just.
Well,
it's
no,
cool.
yeah, I would love a game that does that kind of stuff.
This guy worked on Jurassic Park too, and a bunch of other kind of of those old style motion movies. I forget it's called Hologrid, I think, and it's coming out someday. I don't know if they have an actual date for it, but if you're a fan of science fiction in the future, you may enjoy that as well.
And Jonathan's April Fool's joke.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy those. And finally, last but not least, mainly just we're excited about, this popped up also at GAMA last week, but we didn't mention it. The new set for Legendary was announced, Civil War, coming out in June, right after the release of the Civil War movie. Right. Go figure. We know very little about it. Really, what we know is the box art.
Right.
So all we can really speculate is what we've seen in the box.
Now, what's interesting is, I mean, we see a lot of characters there that we've already had in the game, like Iron Man and Captain America. But I think some of the more interesting ones are, for example, we can see Iron Spider there, which would be another interesting addition. Mm-hmm. But what's also interesting is if you look on the far right, it looks like Maria Hill. I mean, I don't know my S.H.I.E.L.D. agents that well.
Well, it definitely looks like a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. Mm-hmm. I don't think we know who it is, but I've heard some other speculation that it might be Daisy Johnson, a.k.a. Quake, a.k.a. S.H.I.E.L.D. character. So yeah, either of those would be good. I think Maria Hill deserves a chance to be a character after being a useless card for so long in that game.
Well, what I want to... And again, never mind, because I forgot his name, and I feel bad.
From the show?
Yeah.
Coulson?
Yes, thank you.
Coulson.
I love Coulson.
Yeah, no, yeah, he would definitely.
Also, because I love the way the I know one of the reasons I just wish there were more things like Nick Fury, things that active with S.H.I.E.L.D. cards. I think that's really interesting, and I'm actually disappointed there aren't ones for Hydra, really.
Yeah, that's true. Things that make more use of the cards that already exist there.
And then what could be even more interesting is then you can make cards like, if you don't know, the last one came with a set and so someone can play the supervillain. What if you made cards then, so like the good guys use S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, that person uses Hydra guys. And then in the hero deck, there are some that use, so like he'd want to buy the cards that work for Hydra symbols, but you want to buy the cards that work for S.H.I.E.L.D. symbols.
That'd be interesting. And well, you could definitely make something like that work also with the Civil War theme.
Yeah.
So they did have a Civil War scheme, right? Didn't they?
They did, in the original one.
So I wonder if they'll redo that or not.
Well, my guess is, one, the characters, obviously. But I think there's going to be, like, just like the supervillain, an overarching, like, team battle style. Mm-hmm. Like, maybe you each have a super... I'm thinking sort of like the DC deck building game, how you'd each have your own mastermind to fight against.
Some people have also been speculating that maybe we'll see new mastermind versions of Captain America and Iron Man.
No, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
That you would actually, like each one would have to fight the other one.
Right. That sounds kind of cool. I like that.
I think that would be a really interesting, even if you didn't use those two, like just other two, like especially with the villain set. Yeah. So you could use like one side has to be Xavier S, the other side has to be Magneto or something, and have some fun.
Also give a lot more life to those masterminds.
Yeah.
You have a whole new way to use them.
Well, and then throwing all the cards from the last set that made it so new masterminds popped up.
Right. I'm the Spider Queen.
Remember the other guy becomes the king of the cosmos and kills all the masterminds?
I don't know what everybody was called, but yeah, he just kills everyone else. That was a good set.
No, the Secret Wars was amazing. So this has high standards for me to live up to.
I think one reason I'm really excited for it is because I'm ready to see more familiar characters and less crazy outside the box, like Like I love they put the the dinosaur in there and all that stuff.
Right, but where's Ant-Man?
Right, and I think we'll probably see a lot of those like Avengers and stuff in this box, which I think will be cool.
Well, I'm assuming we're gonna see Falcon because he's literally on there.
Falcon it would be, although they did put Howard the Duck and
that's true. That was
on the other cover and he wasn't playable.
Well, the only reason that is annoying is because we know that there's the playable.
Right.
So
it felt like a slap in the face a little bit. I also see that is Thor, right? Or is that like a different Thor? Some other Norse guy? Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, Civil War, and we're super excited to see that movie, which will also be better than than Batman v Superman.
Spoilers, we didn't like it.
Save your money, folks. Instead, buy the Batman game and the Superman game and just mash them together. Or buy DC deck building. I don't know. I guess that would be simpler.
Well, or the Batman vs Superman DC deck building.
Oh, that's right. Is there a Batman vs Superman Dice Masters? Isn't there some World's Finest or something?
Yeah, there's World's Finest.
Anyway.
Pretty much, there's many other choices you can choose, not the movie.
So many. For more suggestions, please send us an email. Next, we have our friends, the Kickstarters. Mm-hmm. Our good friends. Just a couple for you today. First is Snowblind Race for the Pole, which comes to us from the same people who brought us Ancient Terrible Things, which we will talk about someday at length. Snowblind is kind of cool. It's a competitive game where everyone is racing to the pole, in case that wasn't obvious from the subtitle. And the board, the design of the board, I think is really neat because it looks like it descends in the way the artwork is. So your little meeples are moving closer and closer to the center, and with your meeples you have cubes that are your supply crates. And everything that you do requires you to take an action die. So usually you're moving your guys forward in different ways, and depending on what you do, you resolve your action, then you have to roll all the dice that you have. So on your second turn in, you might have 2 dice, on your third turn 3, etc., etc. And for every die that you roll, if it gets over a certain number, bad stuff happens to you. And if too much...
It's supposed to be the weather, correct?
Yes, the elements are hurting you. So you can prevent that by being in a camp. Also, if you're with other people, you're like huddled together for warmth. But over a certain number, no matter what, people are going to get hurt, and if you get hurt too much, you will die and be eliminated.
And the point of the game is to reach the center, right?
Reach the center before.
So I don't have to worry about making it back.
Actually, I could be wrong, but I thought there was a make it back.
Oh, there is? Okay.
Element to it.
So I could be. So it can't just be like, I win.
Yeah. And then you die there in the pole, alone and sad. You can use the supply crates as shields, basically. But yeah, essentially it's a press your luck kind of thing, and there's
which makes perfect sense for what it's about.
Yeah, I think it looks, the thing that usually draws me to new games is uniqueness, and this looks like a interesting mechanic that I'd never really, or a familiar mechanic in a new way.
What I'd like to see is the Top Gear expansion where you can drive a car to the pole
that would
while
be
someone
good.
else has to use a dog sleigh.
That would be awesome. They should make a real Top Gear board game, unlike the trivia version that you have. But yeah, it looks pretty nice. It goes for $29, Snowblind. It comes with a bunch of pretty dice and meeples and things like that. Check it out. And you have a game to show us whose title is a marvel.
Yes. The Vampire, the Elf, and the Cthulhu. Now, if you notice the artwork, you may recognize something a little bit there.
Now that you mention it, I didn't look that closely, but it kind of looks like Sauron.
It does, because in fact, this point of the game is to who can write the best fantasy, horror, Cthulhian novel. So it pulls a lot from the Lord of the Rings, Lovecraft, spoilers, and like vampire stories. And like the whole thing is you have a set of cards for your story you want to make, like a secret goal.
Okay.
And there's there's a location deck, there's like a character deck, item deck, and you're taking turns gathering these cards through like an auction system and then playing them for special effects. So you're sort of like saying, no, the vampire has tentacles that attacks in the foyer.
So you're all writing the same story together.
Yes, but you all have a secret how you want it to end up.
Okay. That sounds really cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
And like I said, it pulls a lot. So there's going to be like a ring and like orcs that look obviously the Lord of the Ring.
Is Lord of the Rings public domain or?
I don't know.
Because it should be. I'm by the
here's the thing.
100 years
It might
rule.
technically be public domain, but because the movies were made and not in public domain, they might be
Right.
like that falls on like.
Huh, yeah, that's interesting. Because, like, everybody can't make a Lord of the Rings movie, right?
Right.
Yeah. Weird. I don't know how that works. Because I know in D&D, they're halflings. But I think now that might just be out of tradition, even if they could say Hobbit. But clearly they're hobbits. But, yeah, that sounds neat.
Currently, as of this recording,
Mm-hmm.
the early bird special is still out, which is for 21 euros. I forget how much that was exactly.
I know I'm pretty sure the non-early bird US is $21.
About 21 US dollars. I think it was 25 euros or so.
So the early bird's a little cheap. But even if you don't get the early bird, that's pretty cheap.
Yeah.
So that sounds
I know. I mean, it sounds really fun. Weird story making. Sounds hilarious, especially with references you'll know and love, usually. If you play board game, I'm betting you love either Cthulhu, Lord of the Rings, or vampires.
Yeah.
I would be shocked if you're not into one of those three.
Or, yeah, that's right. I was trying to think of what because when I hear elf, I think of Christmas. I guess that's Lord of the Rings. Yeah, so that looks neat. Kickstarters, check them out below. We have the links. Now, we have some super good viewer comments and mails.
Super good?
Super good. Some of the best we've ever had. So thanks in advance because we want you to keep these coming. First up, Drawn Steel Hero had some stuff to say about our playback video for the D&D Dice Masters.
Oh, yes.
And we talked a little bit about possibilities of mixing, particularly with the Yu-Gi-Oh set.
Right, I mentioned how something said it can't get hurt by things that had the word dragon in the title and the green dragon.
I didn't remember, so I'm impressed that you remember that. Their suggestion was, they said actually in D&D and Yu-Gi-Oh, there are two types of cards called themselves monsters, so you could easily mix those that way. And they also suggested if mixing D&D with Marvel or DC, it's just replacing the word evil with villain and vice versa,
right.
Making those the same as an easy thing. You might have heard a dog barking in the background.
Yes.
Just ignore it. And there was also a point in the video, I don't know which type of thing this was in D&D Dice Masters, where it had a symbol that looked like the medical with the snake and the going
Oh,
on
yes,
the
it
stick.
was either the rogue or the cleric. Cleric.
We have, Drawn Steel Hero informs us the proper term for that is a caduceus.
Oh, yes.
Or the caduceus, I don't know. But just so you know, that's what it is. So we appreciate that, thank you. Rico Cordova says they're going to start using walrus play in everyday use.
Now that isn't a walrus play.
No, it's not. Keep this movement going. Walrus play must spread.
We'll make it the next meeple.
Yes. Say yay to walrus play.
Okay, now it's done.
Banners, shirts. We need shirts. Keep that spread. Jeff Bray, Jeff with one F. I'm not going to judge you. Had some stuff to talk to us about. Oh, this is from way back. We talked about the Android mainframe game that's coming out.
Oh, yes.
The
By the way, that was one of the reasons why when you said the Munchkin thing, I'm like, I'm happy that they're spreading the Android Netrunner around.
It's funny because anyway, at the last half I was like, what are some games that he would never believe?
No, that actually made it more possible.
That's true. There was Android mainframe. Well, we said we were pretty sure this was probably a reskin of an old game. In fact, it is. It's a re-implementation, at least, of a game called Bauhaus from just a few years ago, which looks very similar with the grids on the board, but it's very abstract. It's all just shapes and lines. No spies or cyborgs or hacking.
Oh my.
Ken Shockley, you'll like this one.
Did he disagree with you? Because
No.
I would love that.
You may not. Well, you'll see. We were talking about the Watchmen expansion last week for DC deck building game.
Oh, yes.
And how we hadn't tried Crisis 3.
But I thought it looked like it might have been just a better version of it.
He said, you must try the Crisis 3 expansion ASAP. It's designed thematically, at least, to be used with Forever Evil. And he said,
Oh, yeah. No, I couldn't even, I've looked through the cards. Because the whole thing is, you played Forever Evil, so you remember. You know how it has the victory tokens.
Right.
A lot of things are you actually use them to pay, which was really cool. Like, in fact, Lex Luthor's Crisis card is pay 6 to get another Crisis card as an ability. Like, so you can get multiple cards. It's fantastic.
That sounds good and scary.
Yeah, the problem is just getting the people.
Right. You mean the real people
Yes,
together
to play
it. Well, Ken said, how good is it? It's so good.
Okay.
Jonathan might actually like it. And then he had a winky face.
No, I definitely think, even the Watchmen one, I think you would like more, because I think you'd love like the idea that there's more than just... Because on your turn, you're actually thinking not just buying what's for you, but maybe buying to stop or maybe to help.
I think we've just played the base so many times, and we almost have, at least I have almost never played with the expansions, so...
No,
Yeah.
I definitely think you're the one I wanted to play with. It's just that conveniently I happened to have 4 people before when you weren't there. I'm like, I gotta at least get the Watchmen in.
Right, for sure. I don't blame you. We haven't been playing a lot of games lately. People have been scarce and we've been busy. We talked about the Descent. We weren't sure whether or not you needed the main box to play with the expansions.
Right.
You definitely do. Raphaelis 13 set us straight. Because the main box also has the condition cards, the search deck,
Right.
item deck, tokens, and and a lot of the other expansions draw from monsters in the base that they don't have figures for, so you definitely really do need that base. Good to know. Always like it when our viewers do our research for us. Really makes our lives a lot easier. And finally, very special comment, we talked about the new version of Star Realms. White Wizard Games actually replied and said thanks for covering, and they said, fans wanted a fantasy version of Star Realms, so they're giving them what
I'm
they
not
want.
saying it's not a bad choice. It's just
For sure. We were just, we were okay. And if you Star Realms for a 4-player game, they recommended adding the Colony Wars expansion to the base.
Oh yeah, they just came out with Colony Wars, and I think it's Colony Crisis.
Yes, that's
the
right.
other one. No, I'm very excited about those because Star Realms is one that I think at least the people I'm around play a lot, like to play a lot.
And we also said we wanted to play Epic more.
Oh God, yes.
They said you definitely should because they just recently announced a $10,000 prize tournament for Epic. So I don't know if I'm assuming Star Realms also probably has tournament plays because that would be kind of fun to watch.
No,
and Epic
no,
is
they would
it's
be, but
designed
I
for
think
it because it's
Epic's perfect for it because
it's that Magic
really
style.
yes. And like I said, that's why I want to play Epic with the people I used to play a lot of Magic with, because it really captures that. I think the feeling you get if you play a lot of limited Magic, you'll get packs of cards and usually like maybe early on you'll be like yeah, then you'll just be like.
You get a lot of duds in with the good stuff.
In this, I don't feel like the duds are as common.
So even if, from my perspective, I wouldn't even want to play because I'd be bad at it and just watch. But you get to see a lot more exciting.
I remember every time you like this. I remember you getting. You're just like, and I loved it. And the fact that you won and did well, and also you don't feel stupid for picking a card because the colors don't matter as much. So there's a whole different strategy.
Much more variety.
Really smart move. I'm wondering if their tyrants will be involved. If you remember, they just came out with that too.
Maybe they'll have like a different sect for like Tyrants play and original play. That would be kind of cool.
No, I think it's perfect. I think I love the tournament play because also the games themselves are cheap, so you can watch or maybe play and be like, this is fun. I want to grab a copy for myself.
Yeah, that's right.
No, I really do think overall White Wizard is just staying on track.
So we appreciate it. Any other publishers that are watching our video and want to lather us with praise, please.
Or let us know when we were wrong.
Lather us with praise? That can't be right.
We're just going to zip that close.
Made me barf for some reason. The only other thing, unless you had any fun topics, there was an interesting article from the AV Club where they did a whole special thing about a bunch of different games with the Cold War theme, and they mostly just talked about the different games and how they explored it, but they didn't delve into what I found interesting, which is that theme itself and why that lends itself so well to board games.
Well, yeah, I think that's a good thing
why we see
to discuss. First off, the Cold War, in terms of strictly we're looking at American history, I don't know every other country's history that could have something, is a very different war than what we were used to up to that point. I mean, every war has usually can have something, but I feel like this is significant. Like, World War I did have technologies that we never saw before, and that's actually where chemical warfare really started, which is a big issue. And World War II isn't even about as much the war, but like what happened behind the scenes, which I think led to the Cold War, where the behind the scenes were now the forefront.
Right.
Like it wasn't, and I think that's what when you think of all the times you play board games, there is moving, but a lot of it is, okay, what is he thinking? How is he going to plan it? Like, in fact,
you're trying to read your opponent.
Right. Just blanking. The webcomic we really like that does a lot of board game ones.
Tiny wooden pieces.
I think recently, as of this video, had a comic up where they're playing a game of Android Nero, and he's like, "Oh, she's gonna go for my this or this or base," and he's like, and she goes, "Nah, I'm just gonna do this for fun." He's like, "What? I didn't see that coming. What is she planning?" But like that's the sort of the style of most board games, and what a lot of people like. It's that back and forth.
Yeah, it gives you.
And the Cold War was the dark, serious truth of that.
Compared to any other war, where if you've got a board game of it, you're basically troops on a battlefield fighting. It's much more about espionage, strategy.
Not even that. If you think of
stealth,
that's more like that's Call of Duty. You don't have time to think usually as much. You're moving in. You got to take the shots. This. The Cold War was a lot of, all right, I'm going to put resources here, but we got to make sure. Keep building nukes, but don't let them know we're building nukes.
It's much better as a simulated thing because you feel closer. It's like you're saying, like with a regular war. Well, there's still you're moving troops and stuff. But if you're supposed to be the troop, it doesn't really represent. You're not taking turns.
Right.
But in that scenario, it can kind of make that feel more realistic in a way.
Right. And going to another thing we've said time and time again is that you and many others love the traitor mechanic.
Oh, yeah.
That sort of unsureness, which the Cold War had. You didn't know if your neighbor was a communist, and plenty of people played that to their advantage. I mean, the Blacklist, what's that famous...
the McCarthy stuff?
McCarthy and stuff. I mean, the whole time was about non-trustworthiness, unsureness. Yeah. And I think that just works perfectly with board games.
Is there a game about... Because one of the things I'm always fascinated by is... there was a whole, in Hollywood at the time, there was a whole thing of, I think it was the Blacklist.
Yeah.
With the writers.
If you even, said something that it didn't have to be even related. If I said, I don't really like hot dogs, and you did, you'd be like, then you go and hey, this guy's a communist, and then blacklist the person. That was the amazing thing.
I bet there is a game somewhere that was based on that, but if not, there should be.
No, and there's a lot of small interesting stories. There was actually a story about how the spy was caught because he accidentally paid a kid for a newspaper with coins that actually opened up to hold hidden messages.
Whoa.
And he screwed up, so when the kid found out, they're able to catch the guy because of that.
I want a code breaking game. Wind Talkers or whatever. Or
it'd be difficult, but
yeah, it'd be hard.
I think we're starting to approach that in board games, like Sherlock Holmes.
Right.
I'm trying to think of a Spyfall almost in a way. Games, I'm trying to think of games Time Stories, that's a good one. Games that sort of
bridge the gap, blur the lines between game and story.
And not only that, where you play through, you learn to play it. It's not
right.
You sort of have an advantage by playing it once.
Right, playing the game is learning the game.
Yeah.
Rather than having to read a rule book. Yeah.
And I definitely think that would be a great one for someone to take that cold story idea. I don't think that's overplayed. Just that would have been.
No, I was surprised because when I read in the article, they listed a lot of games, and I was like, I can only think of Twilight Struggle. It's what else is there? They listed a bunch.
I think
was oh yeah, that.
Then we sort of hit the other side of this two-edged sword. Is a lot because what you can do with this game make it really deep and dark. A lot of the games I can think of are much more heavy. So they're harder to hit the table compared to some other things. Like Cthulhu can be deep and scary, but it's very easy to make that very just what you see is what you get.
We need Cold War against humanity.
Yes, there's no Cold War against humanity.
There really isn't.
So I think that's where a lot of the problems. So that's what you said. You didn't hear a lot of them because I think a lot of them are really dark, which is a shame because that reminds me of, remember the game we played that's based off or very similar to, I can't remember which one came first. It's, I can't believe I'm blanking on it. It's with Avalon. It's their in Silver Box. Coup. But the one that's actually based on the Cuban.
Oh right, the Guatemala 1954.
Which was a lot more interesting because there's a lot more story really in it because there wasn't just, well, that's the Duke.
Right.
There was more like, you're thinking, what would the FBI agent do? Oh,
Yeah.
he's a news reporter. Like,
No, those historical games are really cool. Same with, Operation Faust, and
yeah.
we haven't played. I think we haven't played a lot because a lot of them tend to be just those World War II simulators.
Well, if there is a moment in history that's overplayed, it's World War II.
For sure, in any media.
Well, because I think one of the reasons is, to be honest, is World War II gave us one of the best, by being the worst, it gave us one of the best gifts possible. It gave us a villain, a real-life villain we could all agree on hating.
Right. Yeah. Although Cold War was almost as good for that. Cold War was the best because it was like that, only the villain wasn't that bad.
Well, yeah, they
weren't Nazis.
No, I mean, but that's the problem. Like, it's
Yeah.
hard to make a game that be like if you made a Cold War game where it's obvious the Russians are villains, you can't really make it in Russia because it's sort of insulting.
But you did get a lot of good James Bond movies and stuff out of that.
Oh, of course, that's because we.
That's where it
Hollywood.
is. It's the spy thing too.
Yeah,
That's really weird.
And that's where we saw a lot of our spy things really are because of that.
Right.
That really brought spies to the forefront. But the other thing I was thinking of talking about, but you brought this great conversation, going way back with. Do you think that earlier you mentioned how the different company, Tabletopia and Tabletop Simulator, on Steam. How do you think they're gonna react or even change if games like Holodeck Simulator or even other copies of them come out that are VR related?
Well, I know, we know, alt-space VR is already a thing, the thing where you can play D&D. I would assume they would adapt and come out with VR-ready versions, which...
Do you think we're going to see a lot more board games sort of branching into the VR system?
That I feel like, well, we did have Werewolves Within, which I was actually kind of surprised. But I don't know, I would have thought it would, I would think it would be a little slower for board games to get there.
Do you think people who, since you tend to be on the VR Reddit a lot more, do you think people would be accepting
board game people?
Yeah, or no, even video, because I assume a lot of VR are probably more video gamers, if I had to choose which side they were.
No, I definitely think...
Do you think they'd be receptive of, if they heard, look, new Ticket to Ride VR, you can feel
I
like
think
you're
a lot of people would, because one of the things that you hear a lot about non-first-person VR games, anything, especially any kind of strategy or overhead games, is that it feels a lot like they compare it to looking at a diorama, or you're looking at a table in front of you, and you can see all this stuff and how cool that is, or Dragonfront, which is kind of the same, a similar thing. So yeah, I think people would definitely respond to that well, especially if you can play, with your friends who don't live near you, or if you don't have a gaming group, and actually feel like you're at the table. Adds a lot.
I was really thinking this is where the initial idea was coming up. How a lot of times, while both groups have a long way to go in populace, I mean, in a video game, mentioning a lot of titles, people won't get confused. When they think of video game, they can think of Grand Theft Auto, Call of Duty. They won't go, you mean Pong?
Right.
Well, meanwhile, with board games still, I feel there's a lot of times when I bring it up, they'll be like, you mean Monopoly? Oh, that reminds me, you told me someone commented about Transformers.
Oh, I forgot about that comment. I thought I copied that one in there. Did I miss it?
Yes.
Oh, here it is.
Yes.
I forgot it. See, this is why we keep rolling, because this happens. Kenton Matos, I don't know how you say your name, sorry. We had talked about licensed games.
And I mentioned how I want a Transformers board game, in which he responded, what about Transformers Risk? Which, fair point. I should reiterate, I would like to see a game that's started, where Transformers really gets in, not just... I don't consider usually most Monopoly, anything with the word Monopoly or Risk in it, because it's usually just a quick reskin.
Right. Although, to be fair, not having played Transformers Risk, but knowing about now Star Wars Risk, some of those Risk games I think tend to skew a lot more than the Monopoly versions do. Yes. I still wouldn't put all my eggs in that basket,
my problem with
you never know. Yeah.
That was because I'm almost certain it's based off the movie, which is
true.
If I had to choose a Transformers franchise, it wouldn't be that one. I would love to see more.
No?
Almost most of the other ones, really, to be honest.
You sure? It wouldn't be the top of your list? But yeah, you want a real... the Fantasy Flight Transformers.
Yes, and I did mention Legendary, and you may argue that that's a reskin, which that's a fair point. But to me, Legendary captures a lot more of Risk. Usually is you're moving troops that happen to be robots, and you're not really playing with Optimus. You're not playing with Megatron. You're not playing with Bumblebee.
Right.
But Legendary, that's what you're doing.
There's a system in place to give you those differences.
I don't feel Monopoly and Risk give that feeling of really playing in the mythos or story. You're using troops that happen to look like them.
Agreed.
And that's why I think Legendary, I cite Legendary, but or if they did something like Star Wars Rebellion, its own game that's based off, which would be awesome. I mean, there are a lot of Transformers.
Yeah, at least 4.
Yes.
100.
And I think that would be really awesome to pull from. And even, which is even surprising, is because I didn't read the comics until recently. I'm starting to pick up on them. They're not nearly as one-sided anymore. Like, the Decepticons Autobots are, like, mixing things up.
Huh.
And in fact, like, one Decepticon's, like, wants to help humans that has, like, a pet dog and stuff. And, like, it's just, like...
First thing I'd recommend to them is a branding change. Don't call yourselves Decepticons. It really gives away your evil
No, they keep
nature.
the symbols, but it's more like different groups are helping each other, so...
That's interesting. Are they on Cybertron? Or are they on
They're
Earth?
both, actually,
Okay.
and that's the thing. It's like Cybertron's destroyed our other planets, and they're like trying to rebuild there, and the humans like it took other, and that would be an interesting take on it as well in a board game. Maybe somehow the humans are doing weird things, like a random element.
Yeah, you could have a hidden Decepticon. I mean, you're literally transformed. What if everybody's a truck? And only one of
Who's
these-
Optimus? Oh no, it's the new Resistance. Like one person's Optimus, you have to find who it is.
That's good. That's a good game. Well, I think we've given people a lot to chew on
Yeah.
for this episode. We want to know, what do you think about Transformers board game, Cold War games, any other wars? you
War
like?
the Transformers game was really a spring offing off.
It was a spring off.
Of VR games. We'll
VR
bring video
games,
games and board
that's
games
right.
together.
Let us know if you want us to talk more about VR or to never talk about it again.
All the previous things we talked about, all the new Munchkins.
Take a look at those if you like them. You can leave a comment right here in this video. Just as we did today, we will read it on the air. We got a lot. Soon we're going to have to start picking and choosing.
No,
'cause
we may have to make our own video.
we're the most popular girl at the ball. That's right. We'll have to have a special
the
video for
comment results video.
it. Or you can email us, rollforcrit@gmail.com.
Or some ways they can leave those comments for us.
Oh, you could even go to Twitter, @rollforcrit, or our personal Twitters, or Facebook. That's about it.
Oh.
Follow us there, Instagram, YouTube, iTunes,
We are
subscribe.
everywhere.
We're everywhere, pretty much. Find us on Miitomo. We don't have a Miitomo. We need to make an official Roll for Crit Miitomo. We'll get on
So
that.
is that? I feel like the me would just be some weird horrific fusion.
It's a die. Oh, it's our faces fused? Could be that too. And of course, don't forget to visit rollforcrit.com, where you can buy lots of these games, some that exist, some that don't. The Legendary sets, Star Wars games, whatever you want. It's there. It's good. Plus more videos. Seriously, check out our Animal Crossing video because it was funny and we played it, and please watch it.
So you don't have to buy it.
It was, we went through a lot of pain, so you need to reward us for it.
You need rewards for those extra 10 minutes.
Yes. Oh boy, it was a rough extra 10 minutes. I think that's it.
Yes, for now, I'm Will Keeler.
I'm Jonathan Estes. This has been the Roll for Crit podcast.
Right.
Tweaks.
And that's my problem with the Risk and the Monopoly. I don't feel like...
Just drop the mouse. Bloopers! Nobody saw anything. We can cut around that, maybe.
I'll
Yeah.